Welcome back to Mufc Realist TV. My name is Mick. The Manchester United takeover has now dragged on his heels for almost 9 months. It's been an exhausting process, not only for the fans but for the club as well. To move forward, it's been classification of information limited to only ones that are privileged to receive the news within the club. For the ones that's been authorized to receive but not share. I know what you're thinking. I'm tired of this too as a fan. Not another takeover video, I get that. But before you decide to click off, just give it a few more minutes and this might be a game changer. A story why Ineos are desperate to buy Manchester United that nobody has reported before. But as we stand today, unofficially, the winning bid is 92 Holding, Sheikh Jassim, at least what's been reported, what the rumors are saying, despite the media wars between British sports journalists and the heavyweights and the credible business publications like Reuters and Bloomberg, etc., who only reports on business matters. They have no dog in the fight. There is no smoke without fire, according to my opinion. This is the biggest scoop in the century that will break the internet in half. Mufc Realist TV has always been looking at the facts, the financial figures, the reasoning, never shying away from digging deeper into the stories, presenting you with both sides of the story, and at the end of the day, it's up to you how you digest and make your own conclusions. This is why. For the past months, there's been at least 2 bidders clinging on, fighting for each other to get the keys to Old Trafford, with different ideas and different agendas and why they would like to purchase the club on such an astronomical figure. Yes, an astronomical figure. Most of the reports have been around who has offered the highest evaluation for the Glazers to walk away, while other facts are that, actually the only fact is that they always had a figure in their mind to hand over the keys, and that figure is £6 billion. Now, contender number 1, Sheikh Jassim 92 Holding, was always kind of transparent in the cleanest offer, in buying out 100% cash. Something that the Glazers really liked, that was appealing to them, as Sheikh Jassim came in and made the last improved offer to secure the deal and satisfy the demand of the 6 siblings to accept. Now, if we look at throughout the process, they have not really engaged in creating any media publicity. In fact, it's the other way around. They kept it silence. They kept it clean. The only PR created was the day they announced they were entering for the bidding process. Now, Ineos, on the other hand, have been constructing multiple variables in the offer, as they are not cash rich, as most of the investments are tied into assets and requires board approval to sell off. Hence, I argue to the point that this is one of the reasons the delay, as the Raine Group and the Glazers have been intrigued, curious about the greed. It's all about the greed at the end of the day, to see what Ineos can come up with. This has been the entire sales process called shadow bidding. Throughout the process, they've been heavily using British media and outlets through some form of lobbying. It's kind of money to smear the opponent with stories of sports washing, human rights, and many, many more. We all seen it. And that is in favor for their own bid. Creating stories of leading the race, they have confidence in winning, involving Joel and Avram to stay. That they are desperate to become the winners. Yes, we've seen the stories. But as it stands today, with legal challenges from the minority of the shareholders challenging the bid of Ineos for Manchester United plc, complicates the deal a lot. And the directors of operational proper and fitness test is also at risk, barring that Ineos are heavily involved with other European club as of Nice. We have been told from our close sources, the advisors involved with the Glazer family, we're talking about the Rothschilds Bank, Bank of America, Latham and Watkins, who are the legal representatives of Manchester United plc, and the Raine Group, have somewhat also briefed Bloomberg and Reuters snippets. Why? They're frustrated with the Glazer family as a collective group, dragging the decision. Quote, "Remember, we are not dealing with an individual. We're dealing with 6 siblings, the shares equal. However, they have accepted the 92 holding. As our understanding, the advisors has forced the hand of the Glazers to accept with the emerging bid from 92 holding. And why? It simply has hit the asking price to buy out the Glazers on a premium. On the other side, you have company like Ineos, led by Sir Jim Ratcliffe. You've seen the manifestos as fans, what they have promised, what they have pledged. We have not yet understood why Ineos, as a company, not Jim Ratcliffe, are so desperate to win this bid. Despite the outrage questions within the fan base raised, how are you planning to run the club? We've seen how poorly you have invested in other sporting projects, such as Nice and your racing team, and not promised to deliver. Right? You have not delivered. Just remember that Ineos is a business. As any business, needs some form of return on investment. So regarding the takeover news and the announcement, so in my opinion, for what I've been hearing, is that most likely will be a first statement that comes out that Ineos has pulled out and conceded. It makes sense for the stock market to either halt or spike up. Having to said that, in this podcast, I'm more focused on the reason why Ineos have been so resolute. Why they refuse to give up as a company. I'm looking more on the potential reason and clues why Ineos wanted to purchase Manchester United in the first place as a business investment rather than on its sporting merits. So let's have a look at who is Ineos. Well, Ineos is a British multinational company considering of 20 independent subsidiaries. They do operate in the industry of chemicals, petroleum industries. They manufacture and sell, among other things, like biofuel, chlorine, solvents, petroleum products, plastics, and various types of thermal insulations. The company is the world's largest producer of acetone for etc. But however, they do also operate in the extraction of petroleum oil shale, meaning fracking. They do operate in 29 countries worldwide and generate a figure about $65 billion. They generate revenues about 65 billion. Wow, 65 billion. If you look at the majority of the owners, Sir Jim Ratcliffe sits on 60%, while the executives such as Andy Curry, Chief Executive Andy Curry, sits on 20% of ownership, and Finance Director John Rees on 20%. In terms of sports, Ineos owns sports teams like FC Lausanne Sports, which is also football, Ineos Grenadiers, which is cycling team, OGC Nice is also football in France Ligue 1, and also 33% of Mercedes Grand Prix, which is the motorsport. Ineos has also invested up to £100 million in the sailing team, Ineos Team UK, formerly known as Ineos Team GB. So now it begs the question, now we've seen who Ineos is as a business group. Now let's focus on why they want to buy Manchester United PLC for their own personal business interest, rather than focus it on as a sporting entity. Now let's get started. I'm very surprised that nobody has really picked up on this article that was published by James Ashcroft back in February. Let that sink in. That Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos owns the rights to Shell gas underneath Manchester United Carrington training ground and many, many more. Does that sound a little bit familiar? Probably haven't heard it. But we all know that Ineos is a fracking company, chemical companies, multinational company. And fracking, well, we know, is very, very environmental damaging. It's how to extract gas, natural gas, and carbohydrates. Let's continue, because Jimmy Ashcroft has done a brilliant piece and research. Jim Ratcliffe's Takeover Manchester United PLC might be far from a certainty. Whatever the outcome, he will may have some skin in the game, as the UK billionaire already owns the right to explore the shell gas underneath Premier League club's Carrington training complex as near as half a mile of Old Trafford. Does that sound like an agenda? Wait a minute. He owns the rights to explore the gas underneath Premier League club. Let's continue. Ratcliffe's company Ineos expected to be the vehicle that owns the club. If Sir Jim Ratcliffe takeover bid is successful, Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe own 60% stake in PDL 193. That is an onshore oil and gas license, which gives the company the rights to access hydrocarbons beneath parts of Manchester. That is Trafford Park, Stretford, Eccles, Ermstone, Earlham, and Sale. These are the areas around Manchester United, Old Trafford, and the land assets they own. You see, Ineos paid 30 million in cash. That was back in 2015 when Malcolm Glazer was alive, or also passed away as well, to acquire 50% in PDL 193 in a deal with London listed iGas Energy, along with interest in other parts of Northwest, East Midlands, and Scotland as well. Let that sink in. It also committed at that time there will be investments of 38 million into exploration programs instead of explore for advanced shell gas project within this license. We're talking about projects. We know that fracking is highly legal in UK, but we also know that in current situation, energy crisis is looming. Winter is coming. Russian Nord Stream pipeline has been blown up. Europe is heading towards an energy crisis. Fracking is currently banned in UK, but there's a lot of resources and gas that you can reach. Let me continue and I explain why. In the aim of the investments would be to take forward projects towards commercial production, which would have meant fracking wells. You see? You see, Ratcliffe has been utilized Manchester United bid as a PR or a business proposal to move on the greenwashing front. They've already poured in money into sports brand like British sailing team, football club, Nice, that's been very, very badly run. We've seen horrible stories coming up for that, and we're going to cover that as well with racist allegations and poorly run. Poorly run. We know this story. While the petrochemical business emits millions of tons of CO2, carbon dioxide, hydrogen, CO2, whilst also sourcing and importing gas and oil as feedstock. Wow. You see, on the other hand, if you compare apples to apples, why is press not writing about this? They've been so far casting the stone, calling it sports washing, human rights issue, but this is far more of a crime. This is environmental, dangerous, greenwashing. Right. Ineos believes that the indigenous shell gas industry will transform UK manufacturing and that we can extract the gas safely and responsibly, the company said in 2015. As a matter of fact, back in February as well, the day Sir Jim Ratcliffe submitted his first bid, Ineos also got awarded to buy a slug of US shell oil and gas assets for $1.4 billion. It's a fracking deal, alongside the deal to enter the liquefied natural gas market, who suggests it might have lost hope in UK fracking. You see? He wanted to come into the US market. So, you put in a bid for Manchester United, you get in touch with Rothschild's bank, with Raine Group as a broker, you get exposure. But let's continue. Even so, PDL 193 remains as an active license, and its current exploration period runs out at the end of 2024. Let me repeat that. This is the key. It remains an active license. Its currently exploration period runs until the end of 2024. Wow. So if Ratcliffe successfully purchases Manchester United, Ineos will also acquire the club's substantial landholding in the surrounded areas, including parts of PDL 193. It's right there, people. Right there. Now, they've already been successful in extracting and fracking in Ireland. They've done that. And they got 147 trillion cubic feet of gas, right? The actual size of Britain's shell resources, and more importantly, the technical environmental viability, has not since been proven, as almost all projects have been stiffed at the planning permission stage, with local council blocking the project proposals. You see, local councils are blocking the proposals, but with the current energy crisis, they would probably have no other option to prove the projects. Would you rather have your population around Manchester area freeze? Pure business, according to me. Pure business. And remember Liz Trust. She lived very short reign in Downing Street number 10. That was a flop. But she was barking the tree, approving UK investors to endure to utilize fracking. She was very enthusiastic until she got sacked, or not sacked, until she resigned, and that was undone by Rishi Sunak. But how far will they last when people will start freezing in the winter? How far will Rishi Sunak go to save his public? On the other hand, they struck a deal with Qatar for natural LNG gas. On the other hand, on this hand, you have natural resources lying under Trafford area, owned by Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So, seeing all this what I presented, would it be a plausible outcome that the only interest from Ineos itself is everything around the Old Trafford area? You see, if you own the rights for the fracking, and then at the same time you purchase Manchester United PLC, which includes all the ownership of the land banks around where the drilling area is, no wonder you're kind of pushing for to get this deal done if you were Ineos. On the other hand, if you look at how you would sweetening the deal with the Glazers, is to tell them about this business plan. The extraction is worth billions of dollars as well. Could have been this a possibility that Ineos has had this part of the proposals as well? You sell us the land, you sell us Old Trafford area, and we will give you a little bit of cut of that profit once we get the extraction. But however, fracking is very illegal, and that requires approval from the mayor, from the government, in order to do so. So if you then understand how they structure this deal in terms of splitting up the payments to the Glazers, giving you half of the money now, and within 3 years you might get the fracking business going, and we will also tell you how much you will get the buyout eventually when we generate the capital. Does this make sense? Anyway, I'm just putting it out there for an educational purpose. At the end of the day, when the announcement comes, it will be more clearer. This has been Mick Ruby from Mufc Realist TV, having my say and giving back today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so. Glazers out. Glazers out. Bye for now. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching Mufc Realist TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on the socials.